get started. All right, everybody. Well, I appreciate everyone joining tonight. This is our financial stewardship course every Tuesday. I am your host, Amy Wilson, and we will go into prayer. Let's all go before the Lord. Heavenly Father, we thank you for another beautiful day that you have made. Bless us, oh God, as we become attentive to what we need to know about our finances and how to manage them properly. Lord, continue to teach us that we may organize ourselves in a way that we will utilize the resources that we have and, oh God, do right with what we have. So, Lord, bless us, oh God, for we know all things are yours. Help us to treat it as it's yours and not ours. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, this is our financial stewardship course on every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Our Zoom information is on this flyer. If anyone wants to join, tell them to email me at financialstewardshipcourse@gmail.com and financialstewardshipcourse@outlook.com. All righty, quote for today. A budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. That is a quote. I'm not sure specifically who it comes from, because I noticed that multiple people they pinned this quote too. I went on ahead and used John C. Maxwell because I took it from the ones that quoted it from him. But it could have came way before him. It could have came from someone else. There was somebody that put Dave Ramsey. So who knows exactly where this quote comes from? But it is a true quote. A budget is tells you where your money, or budget is telling your money where to go. So it allows you to know, okay, this is where I'm sending my money. And instead of wondering where it went, I think a lot of us live in that second part of the quote. We live in the, where did my money go? You get to the end of the month. What happened? I made this much. Where did it all go? Well, most likely, if you're wondering at the end of the month or at the end of the week or at the end of the year or however, you wasn't on a budget, because a budget will give you that specific detail of where your money went, especially if you're managing the budget. I have and occasionally get to a point to where I record everything. I put it in my journal. I put it where I need to put it, but then I don't manage it. So sometimes I get back and say, oh, darn it, I spent too much in that area. Why? Because I wasn't managing the budget more or less than recording. You can become a bookkeeper and end up just bookkeeping your finances, and then you'll end up living this quote where at the end of the day, you say, where did my money go? It's all written down. Well, that's great. You wrote it all down, but did you maintain the budget? Did you manage the budget? All right. Again, so we're in obstacle 3. This should be an easy question answered. What is obstacle number 3?
Budgeting.
Budgeting. Thank you, brother. Budgeting. We are focusing on overcoming this obstacle called budgeting. A lot of people treat this as an obstacle because it's hard to deal with, hard to understand sometimes, hard to actually do. So it becomes an obstacle in life because a lot of us don't live by a budget. As I said with the quote, a lot of us just live by dollar to dollar, spend to spend, move to move. We don't really go and write it down, figure it out, know exactly where each penny, each dollar, each whatever goes. Even if sometimes you have a little bit left over, you didn't calculate for every single dime, at least you know where majority of your money is going. And it's not just, how people say when they get their check, it's already gone, it's going to the bills. Well, what about the part that doesn't go to bills? So I know there's something left over. Now, there are some people that are in life that literally are overstated in every penny that they have. It all goes to some form of debt or obligation outside of savings and food and gas. They barely have money for the essentials in their own life because they have overstated themselves or situations just happened. But everybody still can live on a budget. It don't matter how bad it is. It don't matter if you literally are $5,000 over every month. If you make $2,000 and your bills are $7,000, you can still live on a budget. you can figure something out. Sometimes it's because now you see it and you say, okay, what can I do to make up the difference? And we'll talk about that on today as well, if I can get to it. But the first thing we're going to look at is our biblical view of budgeting, a biblical view of budgeting. So budgeting is not a new concept. Budgeting is not something that just came about one day when somebody got up and said, you know what? I'm tired of not knowing where this or that is going. It's something that was built from the beginning, a concept of managing the possessions, the things. If we go all the way back for us believers and Bible readers, go back to Genesis, God told Adam to manage the garden, know what's going on in the garden, be able to determine how things are growing, how things are producing, and what's in the garden. So he had to budget or manage the garden, which a budget is basically managing your finances, is a written down script of what's going on with your money, right? But in the book of Proverbs, we find in chapter 27, verses 23 to 27, this is the ESV, know well the conditions of your flocks and give attention to your herds. For riches do not last forever, and does a crown endure to all generations. When the grass is gone and the new growth appears, and the vegetation of the mountains is gathered, the lambs will provide your clothing, and the goats the price of a field. There will be enough goats' milk for your food, for the food of your household, and maintenance for your girls. What does that mean? What they're saying is, when you actually manage or budget your livestock, your finances, your income, then you know how much is going out, so you know how much to use, so you don't run out. So even in Proverbs, King Saul, supposedly the wisest man to ever live. Now, he don't compare to Jesus, but he's considered the wisest man to ever live, as we state him. He brought this to their attention. Or if it wasn't King Saul, is one of another scribe, actually getting back into chapter 27. A lot of people at that point started also to script some of the Proverbs. So, but one of the wise individuals of Proverbs stated this, basically saying that if you don't know how much is going out, then you one day will run out. You don't deal and manage yourself and your possession, even as it says, does a crown endure to all generation? Meaning, if you don't manage the kingdom properly, meaning budget what's happening in your kingdom, then even your crown could be taken away. You could end up losing everything from not managing what you have. By not managing what you have. So that's important when we're thinking about our finances and being good stewards with our finances, and why budgets are so important, because it is something that keeps things going and keeps you plenteous with what you have. So again, Proverbs 6 through 8, the ESV is going to be for majority of these scriptures. Go to the ant, O sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. Without having any chief, officer, or ruler, she prepares her bread in summer and gathers her food in harvest. So understand, the ant doesn't have anyone managing or supervising or telling them what to do, but the ant still knows, if I don't budget or if I don't prepare for a winter day or a rainy day, as we say it, then I won't have, and I possibly could end up dying. There have been lots of people that have starved to death, even in America. As rich as we call America to be, there are people that have starved to death because they had to choose between their bills, their children, and other things over healthy foods or even any food. Maybe they didn't starve to death. Maybe they died of a heart attack or some kind of medical illness from the amount of types of food they eat because they couldn't afford healthier foods for themselves. Now, can I say that they all wasn't on the budget? No, but a lot of times when you find out those people, how they lived their lives, they didn't live on a budget. They sat and complained about not having, or where did the money go? And then when you looked at it, you say, well, did you write it down? Do you know? Did you manage it? About time you figure that out, they're already put themselves in a state where they're dying from a illness. So knowing and understanding, my job may not last forever. This last year, hundreds, if not millions, well, we know millions of people lost their job. America was up in the unemployment rate, highly up there. I believe it was like 12 or 13, maybe 15%. But then let's say how you say it, but actual numbers, this probably was around 40-something% of America were unemployed, getting unemployment, or when the unemployment ran out, they had nothing. The jobs are coming back and there's more openings, but there were a lot of people losing their jobs. So if you did not have a emergency fund, you wasn't budgeting and knowing exactly where your money goes, you would have been without, right? So being that ant, knowing where things are going. Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. In this case, we said earlier, the ant doesn't need a chief, or officer, a ruler, a supervisor, somebody to tell them what to do. They just understand that I need to have 4 rainy days. I need to be able to budget what I have so that way I can sustain and not just die during the winter, right? Well, in this case, they're saying if you're not good at that, it's good to get counsel. Get an advisor, get someone to sit with you and sit down with you and go over those things and sit down and teach you how to create a budget, how to write down your expenses, what to manage and the way to look at it, what best works for you when it comes to the type or method of budgeting. We went over that last week, right? We went over types and methods of a budget. And when we're going to be learning how to utilize those and going over a few of those, trying to do examples over however long it takes us to get through the budgeting obstacle. But the Proverbs is telling us, you need to be wise about this. Go get an advisor, go get a counselor, get somebody to help you plan out. Because those that do not have anyone to support them when they struggle at these things, will continue to struggle at these things and the plans fail, right? So this is important while we're taking this course, while we're in these classes, to you truly consider, am I taking this seriously? Or am I just supporting? Am I here because, it sounds good, it looks good on my behalf to make myself feel better about being a part of something that teaches finances, so that way I can make myself feel like, hey, at least you tried? Or am I truly digging into it and taking it to a point where I'm doing what is asked of me or what is being taught to me? Am I truly looking at myself, fixing who I am? Am I learning? Am I applying these principles? Or am I just here? So you want to definitely take heed to what you're learning and what information that best fits your lifestyle. All right, and last scripture. Well, this is passage of scripture. It's coming out of Luke, which I did not put down the verse and chapter, but it's coming out of Luke chapter 14 for all those listening that will be watching. Luke chapter 14, start with verse 27. It says, whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. As we know, the text is in red. So Jesus is the one that was speaking this. The Christ, the Son of God, the only begotten. He's the one speaking this. He says, whoever does not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it? So Jesus is establishing the fact of, I'm speaking of salvation and what it costs for salvation, but this is not just a salvational principle. This is a natural life. This could be a principle for anybody. Now, we definitely want souls to be saved, people to come to Christ and know that he died for them. But this is a principle that you can use in every area of your life. Definitely after you're saved, you definitely want to use it after you've obtained salvation. But for which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost, whether he has enough to finish it? That is called a budget. When you sit down and look at what you take in to compare to what you're spending, then you are determining, do I have enough? Have I allocated to all of my expenditures, my income, my revenue, what I'm taking in to determine, can I afford to do what I want to do? Can I afford to buy that house I want? Can I afford to buy that car? Can I afford to send my kids off to that private school? Can I afford to feed my family this type of foods, go out to eat all the time? Is it feasible for me to be able to do, or my family, and me and my spouse to be able to do what we're wanting to do? If not, it says, lest after he has laid the foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it begin to mock him. How many times have we seen people buy a house they can't afford and they get foreclosed on? Or buy a car they can't afford and they get repossessed? Or buy items on credit and then the creditors come after them and now they got a judgment against them. Or their checks are getting garnished because they get into things they can't afford and they don't count up the cost. They don't look at the situation, sit down with a budget and say, if I go to get this loan, can I truly afford? And then they don't look at different opportunities or different things that could happen, like me losing my job, or a medical emergency, or something else happening, the car breakdown. Now I got to put a couple $100 or even some thousands of dollars into my car to get it fixed so I can have a car to drive to work or wherever I need to go, to the doctor's offices or whatever. They don't sit down and think through those things. That's what emergency fund's for, right? But they don't have one. So now at the end of the day, they've been using their payday loans, their high interest rate loans, their bank loans, or even when the bank gives them some kind of leeway and say you can go over your account $500, they've been using that as their emergency fund. But that has to be paid back with interest. You should pay back your emergency fund, but your emergency fund doesn't come with you paying interest. You may lose a little interest depending on if you put it in a high yielding savings account or something of that nature, but still you are paying yourself. You're not paying someone else. So when it talks about looking at it and saying, hey, I don't want to be mocked by someone. I don't want my lender coming after me as I am the lender's slave. So it goes on to say, saying this, man began to build and was not able to finish. So when those people, man, they bought that house, they couldn't even keep it. You know, people joke about that all the time. All that car, see, look, thought he was looking good until now he's back in that hoopty. Now he walking because he couldn't really afford what he tried to be like the Joneses, as they say, right? Then it goes on to say, 31. Or what king going to make war against another king does not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to meet him who comes against him with 20,000? So this king decides, okay, if I go against this other kingdom and we fight them, we win, we are victorious, we take their land, we got all the possession, we take them and they become our slaves, our citizens, and we grow. So he looks at this situation, he puts it on paper, he looks down and says, okay, they got more soldiers, they got more weapons, they got more tactics, they have more training. Oh, this ain't gonna work. So it goes on to say, or else while the other is still a great way off, he sends a delegation and asks conditions of peace. So understanding that I can't afford to go to war with them, let me figure out a better way to go about this so I can come out of this on top. If you are looking at your budget and you see, oh, that's not going to work, I may need to buy a house because I need more room, but I can't afford the market right now. So you may look at better ways of going about saving or buying something that is affordable and building on whatever you have to do, because you recognize it's not going to work. I'm going to get defeated if I buy this specific thing at the cost that it is currently. So understanding that the cost may be too much, you may end up losing that war. You may be foreclosed on, repossessed, the creditors after you, whatever it may be. So having a budget helps you to make good decisions. So likewise, whoever of you does not forsake all that he has cannot be my disciples. So we know this is more about salvation, but it applies in many areas of our lives. Any questions, comments, or concerns at this time before I move on? I'm sorry, I'm moving pretty quick. All righty, so I'm gonna go ahead and move on. So budgeting takes, we cannot learn how to budget and not, again, go back to obstacle one and make sure we are ready. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be on a budget at this point, and you shouldn't be wanting to be on the budget, but you don't want to start something that you know you won't finish, because you're just going to cause more depression, more stress. You're going to look at it and then you're going to give up, just like most of our resolutions each year. When we go to say, oh, I'm going to lose this much weight, we get on a diet for a couple weeks, 3 weeks, even a couple months. And then next thing you know, we fell at it and we completely just crashed. We get so frustrated and so upset, we just throw all the diet books in the trash. We just buy all the snacks we can, because we went into this thing with false pretenses of what we could do. So having and taking ourselves into learning how to overcome ourselves will help us to be more disciplined. You cannot stick with a budget without discipline, faithfulness, being faithful to sticking to it, building it, adjusting it, determination and endurance. Being determined, I will stick to it, I will complete it, I will make sure that I know what is going on with my money, and then endure. The race is not given to the swift nor the strong, but they that endure, the ones that can continue until the end. Don't give up. Stick with it. No matter how hard it gets. Man, I'm not saving anything. It's only 5 cents at the end of each paycheck. Every time I just see 5 cents more, 5 cents more. Next thing you know, you paid off this car, you paid off that thing, you paid off that thing, and then you see 5 cents go to $5. Then next thing you know, you paid off this thing, paid off that thing, and now you see it go from $5 to $100, and bam, you stuck with it. Now you see more in your savings, more being given back to you because you didn't give up. Focus. It's going to take focus. You can't just look at it once. You're going to have to focus on what you're doing and stay determined, stay disciplined and dedicated. Correction. And what I mean by correction, you're going to have to sometimes not just do adjustments in the budget, but you're going to have to adjust your own personality, your own behaviors, your own desires, wants, and thoughts of needs. You're going to have to be corrected. You maybe have to be corrected by a family member, friend, accountability partner, somebody that's helping you to stay on track. You may have to be corrected. So you got to be open to correction and sincerity. You got to be sincere. You have to I'm sincere. I am realistic. I am going to approach this thing with understanding that I may have to give up a lot to be able to get me where the goals I am trying to achieve. So to do a budget, these are some of the things, and you may come up with your own list, but you should have some of these things, if not all of these things and more, and going towards creating and sticking to your budget. So once you have gotten past yourself and that obstacle is gone, we've gotten to the giving, we've gotten to the budget, we're looking at, okay, now how do I create a budget? So now I need to know, what do I need to create a budget? How do I go about it? Oh, this is just simple stuff. This is 101. This is for dummies. I already know how to do a budget. I hope you do. And if you do and you haven't been doing one, then this is the opportunity to start. So how do I create a budget? First, you have to know your income. You got to know your income streams. You got active or earned income, salaries, wages, commissions, bonuses. Know what is coming in. If you don't know what's coming in, then most likely you don't know what's going out. And you're going to end up overspending because you don't even know how much you really have taken in for the week, the month, each pay period, the year, whatever. However you set up your budget, you got to know what's coming in. You may have the active and earned income. You could have passive income. You still need to know how much interest am I making on my high yield savings or CD? How much dividends am I taking in? How much rental income am I getting? Royalties or whatever the passive income is bringing in. You also have the capital gains. You may look and say, okay, if I want to pay this off, I could sell my car, I could sell my house, I could sell something, I would get the income, and then I'll be able to do what I need to do. But you got to know what's coming in. No matter if you sell something and that income still needs to be budgeted. It can't be some money that's just sitting there. It needs to be allocated. It needs to be addressed. The other thing is expenditures. You have to know what's going out. So here's the big thing. Don't guess. Do not guess. Don't think, I think I spend this much on, and I might spend this much on. If it's not going by a percentage budget and you're saying, hey, I want to spend this percentage, you need to know what is going out. If you don't know what's going out, then most likely that is the reason why you're overspending, because you don't understand your actual cost and how much you actually spend on certain items and certain things in your budget, or that should be marked in your budget. So things like categories, you can set up a budget for over categories. Things like housing, groceries, transportation, entertainment, medical bills, miscellaneous. Those are could be considered categories. You also could set up a budget by line items. You got rent, mortgage, food, personal care, car payments, gas, gifts, doctor's office. I should have put apostrophe, yes. But those are ways you can set up a budget. You can do it by your categories, or you can do it by your line items, but you still need to know your expenditures. Know how much is getting going out towards that category or within what you're spending. So I asked everybody to do journal entries. And everybody, some people said thumbs up and said they were doing it. So this is a way of knowing your expenditures, and we will talk about that and discuss that in a little, hopefully tonight in a little bit. All righty, so income, expenditures, that's how you can determine how to start your budget. Now, starting your budget, you have top down, two ways to start to create a budget. What I call top down. Top down is to start with your income. This focus allows for accurate allocation of income towards expenditures. What do I mean by top down? You know how much you're making, so you break down what you made towards all your expenditures. So now you know, okay, I only can spend this because this is how much I make. Then you have another called bottom up, what I call bottom up. Now, bottom up is where you start with your expenditures. This focus forces the increase of income to cover expenditures. Meaning, what I mean by that doesn't mean you get to just say, well, I'm gonna get these things anyway. If say you want to go on vacation, you want to do certain things. So you get write down all your expenses and say, it's going to cost me $3,000. I make $1,500 a month. It's going to cost me $3,000 next month. That means I need to make $1,500 extra to do what I want to do. Some people can do that. I wouldn't encourage many of us to have that approach to our budget, because if you're not very savvy with earning income or finding other ways of getting income in, then it may make it a little hard for you to follow that type of budget. But people do. Some people are very savvy. They understand I could sell some stuff. I can go get me a second job, another hobby, do something, a service, maybe help somebody with their cover letters or resumes, get paid that way, make some extra income. It forces them, because they have already allocated income to these expenses, but they just don't have the income to do it. So it makes them go out and increase their income, their revenue streams, to cover the expenditures they have allocated to. So you have those two types of budget ways you can focus on your budget. You can do it top down and bottom up. I encourage for most of us to do it top down. Know what you take in and allocate your income to the expenditures. Don't create a bunch of expenditures and say, okay, now I got to go out and find the income for it. Unless you're very savvy and you can do it. But I want to hear later that it didn't work for you because you knew you couldn't do it, and you tried it, you wanted to do it anyway because you wanted to spend. And I love these things. So be very wise about which way you choose and know yourself. That way you know how to go about creating your budget. All righty. So importance of journaling or logging spending. So remember, I asked everybody, I believe it was last time, I put out an assignment asking everybody to do a journal of all their expenditures for a week, 2 weeks, a month, however long that you can, because it's good to even have longer or continue with it even after you got a budget, have it line by line. I spent on this, I spent on that, and I'll provide you with a Excel spreadsheet I use. Like I said, I try to beautify it up at some point. But the importance of journaling and logging your spending. It tracks expenditures. It lets you see what you have spent your money on. Identify any spending patterns. So once you figure out where you put your money, now you can see patterns. Like I spend during this time of the month or after work or whatever, I like to spend this much. I spend more here or I spend more over there. So you can see patterns of how you spend during certain parts of the month, year, or, if you're doing it time by time. It's however detailed you want to get with your tracker. Depends on how you can determine your patterns. There are some that even, I have one that they say the journaling is to tell you how you felt with, is a little different from logging. So if you do a journal, you may be telling yourself, well, I went out because I was upset. I went to Walmart and I spent on extra snacks or something like that. Now okay, when I get upset, each time I was upset, I went out and bought something. So I got to deal with that, right? Determine what or why. And that is, if you look at this one, this expense tracker on here, this example, it has need and want. It has need and want. What am I spending and why am I spending it? Again, like I said, you could put in the journal aspect your mood, your reasoning, why you went and bought or why you're spending these things, to give you some more understanding of what to fix and how to correct yourself in that instance of when you go out and spend. That's what a tracker could help you with. Determine adjustments. What adjustments need to be made? That's what the tracker also could do. I can adjust, because even if you do a totality budget and you say 50% or 10%, you can try to make adjustments, but you may not know exactly why you spent that money and what you spent that money on. It just was housing or groceries or something like that, and you did go over your percentage, but was it because party? What is it because it was gifts? Was it because something else? There's could be reasons. So you could adjust those based off of your tracker to say, okay, now I know I do get by too many of this or that. Understanding between needs and wants. It does help you learn, okay, if you're really detailed about it. Some people are very detailed. They know down to the type of foods they buy and how much they spend on specific foods. And that goes with organized, very detailed people. Not all of us are that way, and you may not want to be that way. You may say, you know what, that's just too much work for me. You don't have to go that detailed, but it's good to know, is this a need or is this a want? Because then you can determine how many wants do I have and how many times did I go out and buy those wants. So that way I know I can cut out some of my wants for the need, or I can relook at my needs and say, that really wasn't that need at that time. I could have waited for that need in that want. And then you can find out by waiting, you actually come to find out you really didn't need or want it in the first place, or there was a better deal because you waited. And now you saved money on that item because you was patient. So that's what trackers will do. Now, what I want to do is I am going to switch up. Let me go back. But I'm going to switch up and we're going to do a little practicing for a few minutes of a tracker. Let's see, I'm going to do this. All righty, I am going to reshare my screen. Can everybody, what do y'all see on your screen? Somebody tell me.
Spreadsheet.
All right, a spreadsheet. All right, good. So this is somewhat of a tracker you can use. This is something I use. Where I have the expenses. I usually call it a monthly expense. I changed it to daily because we're going to do a 30-day. So what I do is you put the date here, and you could use this two different ways. If you wanted to bill yourself, or if you're desiring, there's a few other that I will pull up to that I found online from Compass and some other resources. You put the date in. What's today? The 9th. Then you put what did you spend your money on? It could have been, you could put, if you did a category, you could put food. You could put it on, I spent it on, I paid the rent today, right? Or I bought gas, right? So then you, depending on how you want to do this, you could say on this day I bought gas, and it was, let's say $30. So now, on that day you bought gas, and then on that same day you went to the grocery store and bought food, and you spent $60. So now, right now, you're totaling $90 of your income. That's just the fact that you are journaling everything that you are spending on that day. The next day, say tomorrow, you go and you have to go to the doctor and your copay. So you say doctor office. You spend, your copay was $25. Now you know that you're at $115 just this week. Just this week, you spent $115 on gas, food, and doctor's office. So by going down the list, and okay, say next month you have somewhat the same, and it's around the same time. Now you can look at it and compare what you've been spending and where in the patterns fall. Maybe you find that almost every day you get gas, or every week, if you just do this for a month, you seem to get gas 2 or 3 or 4 times in a week. And you say, okay, why am I spending almost $30 or so in gas 3 to 4 days a week? Oh, it's because I'm doing these extra runs. What if I cut out some of those runs? Then you find out by cutting out some of those runs, you now are only getting it twice a week instead of 3 to 4 times a week. So that's what a good journal entry tracker can do for you, is by giving you understanding of where is my money going. It's good to create a budget, but if you don't know where your money's going, sometimes if your budget spreadsheet or whatever is too broad, you still won't identify what's really happening and where you're really dealing with spending. Now, you may say, okay, I spend too much in my grocery bill, but how do I cut that out? When am I going grocery shopping, and why am I going grocery shopping? You may even put down you only spent for this specific, like for that day, like food for that day, to help you understand. I gotta start getting a food budget or a food plan. I need to sit down and do a meal plan to help me not to go grocery shopping so much. Another format spreadsheet, which is kind of like the one on the tracker I was showing you, the example I was showing you, I just kind of built one. You could do still here, have the same principle. So you do go get food. Uh-oh. Sorry, everybody. Not sure. Can you still see the spreadsheet now? Somebody
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Good. So say you go get food, but you spend $45 this time. And it doesn't matter which way you go. You got the credit, you got the cash. Say you spent it in cash, you did well by not putting it on a credit card. It wasn't really, it was kind of a need, but it really wasn't need this time. So you say you did it as a want, you check the box as a want, but then you say, okay, I've been wanting to journal. Why am I spending? Is it a mood thing? You may even over here put a journal and say, I had a bad day at work and I was angry. So you find out that during this time you spent $45, you look at your grocery list and it was a lot of snacks, it was ice cream, it was angry food. And you identified, okay, when I am angry, because I look down the list, if I kept marking and going down, I find out I have a lot of times when I'm angry, I go grocery shopping. I may go do something else. So I may say, instead of grocery shopping, I need to put on some workout clothes and go for a walk and go calm down before I go try to go to the store. Because when I go to the store, if I'm angry, I know I spend more. I don't follow my plan. So having a tracker and writing and dating and listing what you bought and describing what you bought, and maybe even going as far as putting down, was it cash purchase? Was it a credit purchase? You know, was it even a gift card? Maybe you got gift card money. So it's like, okay, I didn't even use my money. I used somebody else's money because they gave me a gift card. Having those, was it a need? Was it a want? You know, do I need to track my mood? Do I need to journal why I'm out spending? Why did I spend on these specific things? If it deems that, okay, I'm recognizing my spending pattern is out of these reasons, right? So it's good to have that. All righty. So I'm also going to point out, let's see, I think, that's not it. Oh, there it is. This is another one I got on Compass. I'm just going to show you the PDF. I hope y'all can see it. It's a 30-day journal. And what they do is they have each day, you put down the income. So say you got paid on the 15th, you got paid. How much tax, tithing and giving did you do? Taxes, housing, when did you give it? Food, when did you go out grocery shopping? Transportation, gas, things you pay on your car, insurance, and then it goes down and it has additional things. So you can use something like that, which tells you day 1 to day 31, and then go in and each one of those days of the month, you say what you did. So that's another one. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
All righty. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna end on my last 2 slides. So my last 2 slides represent how to create a budget. So after you got your journal entry, and we'll go deeper and more on this, after you've done your journal entries, after you know where your expenditures are going, you need to, and this is just the example of when we did the practice the other day when we were talking about giving, budgeting around giving. Someone makes $13 an hour, $13.50 an hour weekly. They know their weekly amount, if they're going to budget weekly, bi-weekly, bi-monthly, however they get paid, or if they want to do a monthly, they put down in their income, this is how much I make a month, because you got to determine and allocate according to that amount. You can't go above it, and anything beneath it should go into savings or to a debt or something of that nature, right? So first, calculating how much you make gross, and then figuring out, and which we'll look at later because I'm over my time, but figuring out how much after taxes. So what you're going to be making after taxes. If that'll be weekly, annually. And then listing your expenditures. The same list from earlier. You know, putting all your expenditure down. So usually it's in categories. You can go from categories to line items to specific ones. But you have to list all your expenditures. So that way you can determine, okay, over the month, this is where my money is going. So you're predicting what you're going to do. You're not going to do it after the fact. Even I get caught doing sometimes after the fact. I go and record what I have done and not already had what I was going to do, if I get behind on creating a budget for the next month or whatnot, right? So now I'm looking and say, okay, I gotta, what did I spend my money on? All right, I gotta look at where I put my money. So now I look and say, okay, we spending too much in this area. But you want to be proactive, not reactive. What is it? Yeah, or reactive. That's the word. We're not reactive. Reactive. You want to be proactive. You want to go do it before, not reactive, right? So this,
Right.
so put in a list of expenditures. Okay. So we're gonna actually practice this. We're gonna work on these things next time. But I just wanted to get through this portion to kind of give you a glimpse in a picture of what it looks like to begin a budget. All righty. So I'm gonna ask: is there any questions, comments, concerns, any thoughts, comments? I'm not going to prolong your time. Just want to make sure there's nothing anyone wants to say at this time. All righty. Well, I appreciate everybody joining tonight. I hope something was said that was informative and will help you to sit down and start on one of your journal entries, looking at, okay, you can start even right now. You don't have to wait till the first day of the month. You can start recording now. It's good to continue with it. Don't stop. Go ahead and start recording now. Have an idea where your money is going. And then start looking at, okay, how do I go about creating the budget? As we go over methods and the types of budgets, Okay, what works best for me? I got my list of expenditures that I normally spend my money on, or at least how I've been spending my money. Is this something that's going to be consistent, or is this a one-time deal? Was this something that I'm not going to usually do? So you know the difference, so that way you can allocate or understand. Okay, this is how I need to set up my budget. All righty. Well, if there's nothing else, let's go ahead and pray, and I'll let everybody go as we bow our heads. Heavenly Father, Lord, again, we thank you for this day and for allowing us to come together as we discussed and talked about budgeting and how to allocate our resources, oh Lord, how to manage ourselves, oh God, and put it down in black and white that we may see what we're doing, oh Lord, and how we are affecting, oh God, our spending, Lord, and what we take in, Father. Lord, bless every heart and mind that is listening in right now, and those that will on the YouTube, oh God. Bless them, oh God, that they will take this information and utilize it, oh Lord, and gain in more knowledge and understanding and apply it accordingly, that they will get out of any situation that they may be in or help someone else too, oh God. Bless us, oh Lord, that you will be glorified and edified in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen. All righty. Well, God bless everybody. Until next week, have a great one.
God bless.
God bless you. Praise the Lord, everyone. Love you.
God bless you. Love you.